Hi, I'm Emily, and today I'm going to be talking about an aspect of civil engineering that's not normally big at careers fairs or STEM events. Firstly, I've never given a STEM talk on it either. It's bridge assessments. They're really important, and they're going to become more important as we move towards net zero. A bridge assessment will tell us the condition of the bridge and how it's doing really. It's kind of like a health check. And this informs how we use our really limited natural resources and our not so natural resources. How we use these is really important if we're going to work together to achieve net zero, because all of our resources have a carbon weight and we need to think clearly about where that's going and how it's being used. I'm going to give you a 3-step guide of how to complete a bridge assessment now. So the first step is to find out about the bridge. You could say visit or inspect. So if you visit, it has to be done safely. You take measurements, photos, you really get to know the bridge well, like you would a friend. You want to know how long's this bit, how's it looking, what's the condition. Or if you're going to inspect a bridge, you could borrow someone else's notes, but only if you're really clear that they're reliable. They could have taken photos and done some fancy optical imaging and given you a 3D model to play around with. That was really cool. Or they could have just written it down old school, and after you've checked that it's reliable, you can look at what they've done and use this information for step 2. So step 2 is to do the maths and work out with numbers how it's actually functioning. You want to know the bending of the bridge and the shear of different parts, and you'd take a note of the load, the cars, take a note of how it's being used, because this affects the maths and will be used in the maths. Doing the maths can either be done to assessment codes, or if it's a bit more complex, as a structure, you'll have to use your own engineering initiative a bit more. This could be quite tricky sometimes. And then the third step is where the really big thinking comes in. You've got the measurements and you've got the maths. Now you need to think about how it's actually being used and what needs to happen to it. Is it fit for function, you should ask yourself. Is it living up to what it's meant to be doing? Perhaps it's finding the cars a bit too heavy. Maybe we could just make it a pedestrian bridge. Or you've noticed a problem in a certain area. For example, just here, you might be able to ask someone to help you to design some strengthening and then use your resources carefully and sensibly to fix it up here. Or, in a not very nice case often, it's not looking good for this bridge, and the math says that it's failing in bending and it's failing in shear and it can't hold the load, and it couldn't even hold a lighter load. So it needs to be taken off the network altogether, and in that case you'd need to use your resources. So we've worked out how we can keep the bridge going and keep it being used by looking at the bridge assessment, and this determines how we use our resources. How we use our resources is really important as we move towards net zero, and to try to reduce how we use them and use them sensibly and use them smartly.